As usual, when these types of things happen, we have more questions than answers. However, I am hopeful that with time, we will understand a little bit better. But what is going on at Fort Bragg? That's a really good question, because the suspects in the attacks on Bourbon Street and Trump Tower in Vegas, they both served at Fort Bragg. Now, to make matters a little bit more complicated, Ryan Ruth, who was attempting to assassinate Donald Trump, he had visited Fort Bragg over 100 times. Are there connections between these individuals other than the fact that they've been involved with and been a part of Fort Bragg in some way? We don't know yet. However, it's becoming clear that there's something wrong going on in this country, especially with our military. And it may be connected, it may not be. But our military has been progressively getting weaker as they have instituted more of this DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is not just distracting our military, that's putting it lightly, it's actually dismantling our military. Now, no one really has a problem with the way people look. No one has a problem with your gender of the two that exist. No one has a problem with that. The problem becomes emphasizing those over all else. Merit is what really matters in working your way up. So under the Biden administration, military spending increasingly is focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts, which waste money and divide troops. Check, that's true. Top officials have set diversity quotas, horrible, for general and leadership positions in the military. So diversity over ability to be the leaders. Well, your life experience is not military experience in every case, and your life experience is not useful experience in every case. In fact, in most cases, it's not. If you're not training continually and working on your career and your job and bettering yourself, learning and growing, seeing things in real life situations and bringing that back around to the forefront, learning from mistakes, knowing how to help educate our future troops, well, guess what? You don't really have what it takes to be a leader in the military. You have a checked box of fitting into this ridiculous standard of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The military has one job and one job only. That is absolutely 100%, and that job is protecting the United States from its enemies. DEI does nothing to further that mission. Now, we could go deep into this conversation. We really could. However, we have a lot of questions to ask, and questions that need to be answered. First of all, we have this clip.
Sofia Rodriguez with Univision Vegas. I was wondering, were you able to recover the video from the CyberTruck, or was that destructive?
So the question is, are we able to recover the video from the CyberTruck? And many of you may know that those CyberTrucks contain a tremendous number of cameras. Mr. Musk has sent out a number of his folks that will be arriving here this afternoon with the intent to try to capture the part of that captured all of the video from inside of the truck.
That's a great question by the reporter, asking if there's footage on these cameras. Also, additionally, in front of the Trump Hotel, what other footage do we have? We have the one angle that everybody has seen with the truck exploding. However, what else? We live in this day and age where everyone has a camera in their pocket. Everyone has a camera in their pocket. And most of society, when they're out and about, have it out in the world. Not to mention Las Vegas, which is probably one of the most surveillance-heavy cities in our country. So do we have more angles on what's going on? Did anybody get in the vehicle? Did anybody exit the vehicle? Do we know the time when they pulled up? Anything on that? Are there any shots of this vehicle going to a local hardware store, picking up any of the materials they used in this horrible event? Are there any videos leading to this point? We also know that this vehicle was rented on Turo. All right, which is privately renting your own vehicle like you would an enterprise car, but it's person to person. All right, it's an Airbnb of vehicles. That's what it is. So we know that at this point in time. Where did it come from? Who is the party that ended up, now losing their Cybertruck over this? All these ridiculous questions that need to be answered, especially in the fact that that truck in New Orleans had the same story, rented on Turo, brought through, used in such an attack. Now, the attacks are slightly different, of course, and their targets are different, but the idea is similar. and there's a connection to Fort Bragg, there's a lot of little things that just start stacking up where I could see easily these conspiracy theories that want to run wild. This is not the point. That's not the direction I'd like to take with this subject matter, but the reality is the questions that continually being asked are not getting answered. So camera footage is 101. The more we see come to the surface, the less questions we have as a public. If you ever realize that when you don't have a lot of answers quickly, we seem to see more conspiracy theories or, in my opinion, honest questions being asked in a more rapid fashion. But when we have a lot of things come out, say a tragic event happens, we get a manifesto, we know where people are, and we have a track record of them, and all these things come to the surface quickly, well, guess what? It dispels a lot of the fear of what's going on. Is this a bigger story? Do we know if this is a lone wolf? That sort of thing. So we get a little bit more information in that way. And to complicate matters, we have this clip here.
We also discovered through the coroner's office that the individual had sustained a gunshot wound to the head prior to the detonation of the vehicle. One of the handguns was found at his feet inside of the vehicle.
Of course, it has to be that way because that leads to big questions again. Did this guy do this to himself with the hopes that the rest of his plan would take place uninterfered? All of that? No one noticed that there's a deceased person slumped over in the driver's seat right in front of a hotel? That didn't come to anybody's attention? I mean, do we have a time frame? Is there any sort of footage or audio from the cameras on the Tesla? Is there any sort of information between the timing of this supposed self-inflicted wound and the explosion of the vehicle? I get it. These questions are being asked not just by me, but it seems that these would be simple questions to find information and answers quickly. It would be simple if you had the different various groups that are going after it, law enforcement groups that are going after this information, and the fact that other people would like to have these answers so quickly here, you think we'd uncover something. But here we are, full 24 hours past these events, and it seems like there's way more questions than answers on either of the two events. What's going on? And how is it connected? Is it connected? You know, are these guys disturbed military members, veterans, and active duty members who have been undergoing some troubles that have gone unaddressed? I mean, I can honestly say that it appears that over the past 4 years, the current administration has been insufficient in taking care of our military members in many ways. Not just how they treat them in the military, with the fact that diversity, equity, and inclusion seems to be taking the higher focus rather than their own abilities, their own training, and their own well-being as military personnel. That's not part of it anymore for some reason. It will be, once again, soon. However, until that time, what is going on? Without our military, they are not able to protect our country. Without protection of our country, guess what? We don't have a country for much longer. And I think that is the larger question. Is that really the point? Is that what the left wants? Is that what Democrats want? Is that what the diversity, equity, inclusion crowd wants? Because if not, then they're focused on the wrong thing, and it's leading us down a bad road.